great.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, because Julia wasn't going to cut. Well, Julia was too busy. And so I ran across the lunchroom. I just finished rep picks. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh man, 6 tables?
I know I've been talking for an hour, so my throat is.
What's another hour, right,
I
Julia?
know, right? Well, we're only going to be on here for about 5 minutes, so we just wanted
Okay.
to come in. We just wanted to come in and show you guys. So I see everybody. Hi, Beth. There's Beth. We can see you guys, so you can comment. We can actually see. This is the first time I'm doing this on the phone, so I'm like a newbie here. I know. So let me just show you. I don't know if anybody can see. Like, here, can I turn this around? Maybe. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So we were facing a wall.
Oh, yeah.
This is the bar and lobby and noise and the book. We're on like a half-hour break and so I don't see anybody that I can like get you. So you're stuck with us. So you got us. So we're literally facing a wall, as you can see. Now I've got to like get us back. Oops. Where'd it go? Oops.
I think that lobby looks familiar to us, doesn't it?
Kind of does.
I feel like I've been there.
This is the Sheridan, Denver.
Oh, the Sheridan. I'm not sure. I guess all lobbies look like the Sheridan.
Yeah. So we're gonna let Julia go first. She's gonna talk about a book that I love. I have one book for you guys, and it came out a few weeks ago, but I was on a holiday, so I wasn't here. But it's called Nesting by Bryson O'Donnell, who is an Irish author. And this book, oh, you guys, it is so good. It reads like a thriller, but it's really about a woman trying to leave her emotionally abusive husband. And that sounds really heavy, and the book takes it very seriously, but it's so readable and it just sucks you right in. I can't say enough good things about it. It got a great review in the New York Times. And I hope that you all read it and love it as much as I did, because I think it's an important book, but it feels like just an absolute ride. So if you need something to just sink into, Nesting is there for you. So I was over here nodding my head, and you couldn't see me doing that but I read it, and oh my God, such a good book. And it's got all the stuff that I love. It's in Ireland. It's just like, it's got all the things. So great book. And so hope you guys will pick that one up. Couple things just real quick. Exciting stuff that's happening here. The keynote speaker this morning was amazing, and it was, see this?
I thought so.
Yeah.
And
Ocean Vuong.
Yep, we have Ocean Vuong. This is coming out in May, so you guys have he as a speaker, he's just, oh my God, you just want to like give him a big old hug. Yeah. It was amazing. And then for our S.A. Cosby fans, he's got a new book coming. Ooh. So his book is coming. I can't see what the date is on this one. June. So that's coming too. So lots of fun stuff, lots of good stuff. Long days.
I got messages from booksellers this morning who they were coming out of the Ocean Vuong event like in tears. They were sending me a message. So
it was amazing. It was truly amazing. It was really inspirational being in that room, and hearing him talk about like what we all do and how important what we do is, and bringing books to people, especially in today's where it was like chef's kiss for an opening ceremony. So
fantastic.
All right, everybody, we got to run, but have a great run. Have a good week and have a fun tea time. All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Get out of here. Okay.
That was great.
Oh, I'm glad they were able to make it. I'm trying not to be too jealous that I'm not there this year.
Yeah, that is hard, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad that the keynote was good. Okay, there are the books they talked about in the chat. So glad you all came today. So when I thought Julie might not make it, I sent out an appeal to our reps to join me and threatened to merely just parade the cats that I live with on the screen for y'all's entertainment. If I was by myself,
you and your cats just like
right.
sitting there being You and your cats.
I'm sure some of you would like that, but this is way better. So I'm so glad to have Gabe, Tom, and Patricia here today. And Gabe, you were here first if you want to start.
I can't start.
Okay.
Have we got the share button on?
Maybe not. Okay, go ahead.
How about now? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So, Eleanor Lippman, she's an author who has written like 15 books in the last like 17, 18 years. She's quite prolific. She came over to Harper the last couple years before I left. We published a book called The Misdemeanor, and I remember, um, I for some reason, as long she'd been around a long time, and I thought I knew this, but there's authors you just miss. So I never really, and I had heard the name because we used to publish Laura Lippman, so Eleanor was kind of in the back of my head, and I'd never read her. And we get manuscripts; they're kind of blind. And I picked it up, and I thought, oh, let's see what she does. I assumed it was sort of this basic women's literature, just domestic, whatever kind of stuff, very generic. And I started reading it, and it was hilarious. Misdemeanor was the title of the book. It was a paperback original that we were publishing it as, um, which usually is what publishers do when an author hasn't really sold a lot of books, and you just try to get some kind of book club placement or a Target placement or something like that. They put a pretty cartoony cover, but so it's very rom-commy looking, but it was a little more, there's a little more meat on those bones than your average rom-com. She's a really smart, very observant author, and she just pokes at all these little things, and it becomes quite fun. So in this book, they decided to do a hardback. So because the reviews for Misdemeanor were really, really great. It was, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many pages of reviews and attention Eleanor Lippman got for that little book, which you don't expect in a paperback original. So they got this it's in hardback, every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Title is rather appropriate, and the protagonist is a woman who takes over her parents' antiquing kind of antiquing business, and her latest client is this old historic building, a B&B, where men go and pay for sex. So does she reject it's basically a brothel run under the guise of a B&B. So that opens up a really kind of a silly door. This would be a really fun movie. I was just totally visualizing this going from, 0 to 50, 0 to 60 in like 5 minutes.
Who would
Uh,
you cast in the movie as the male leads?
I really didn't think. I just sort of, I thought people like who's hot, like Will Ferrell or someone, but it's just got a really a good array of characters that you could pick from. But I thought it was very kind of cinematic ultimately. The way it ran into my through my head, and I really visualized the movie really quickly. Some books you read and they're just really great reads, and some books you're just like, boy, the movie's playing in your head and you're cutting scenes in your brain, and that's what this felt like. So very funny, very engaging, a kind of unusual premise. And it's a lot of fun. So you get like I said, I'm a big fan of funny books. I'm a big fan of fun books. I think that's why I really ripped through Misdemeanor because she's very, very funny.
And I saw that blurb there that said if you're a fan of Eleanor Lippman, you're gonna love it. And if you're not a fan, well, you're in luck because there are 14 other books
There's
by her.
14 other
So
books out there. Yeah, yeah, she's got a
very
good,
good.
good
And I
actor.
I have old friends, book-selling friends who have loved her from the beginning, who I'm sure are at Winter Institute, who are just so always just so delighted when there's a new Eleanor Lippman.
Excellent.
It
Thank
was a
you.
good. She also did a good by the book in the New York Times interview a few weeks ago. Very, very
Yep.
funny,
Oh,
smart.
cool. I'll find it and put it in the chat here. Okay, Tom.
All right, this is a good companion to that book. It's Crush by Ada Calhoun. This is on sale tomorrow, and I think this is going to be one of the buzzier books of spring. I love this book. Um, So Ada Calhoun, let me tell you first about her, in case you don't know. She is a professional writer. She is, and I mean that in like the best sense. She is a pro, and she's written three books. I think three books, three or four books of nonfiction. She's really like, and Saint Mark's is Dead is about. She grew up in New York. It's really a quintess. Saint Mark's is Dead. The book is really a quintessential New York book, nonfiction. Um, she's also one of the industries, the countries most in demand ghostwriters for all different kinds of books, but especially celebrity books. She doesn't get most of the time she doesn't get credit, and so she can't like when I met her at Kaliba in the fall, I was like, tell me about this celebrity or that celebrity where you do that book. She could not reveal. She's signed too many NDAs. But there that's a big part of her writing life. So now she's here with her first novel, and we think of crush, we think of the word crush, we think of crushes from childhood. This is about a crush at midlife. This is a woman very much like Ada Calhoun, very successful. She has a husband, she has a son, um, but and a successful writing life. And you know there's a little bit of Ada in this character, this unnamed narrator, because Ada Calhoun has a pen pal relationship in real life with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks loves her writing. He's typed out, he does that. That's how he communicates. He sends typewritten letters. And so the character in the book, they talk about like, yeah, oh, that Tom Hanks, the Tom Hanks is, your friend. Um, so this woman at midlife, this writer, her husband says to her one day, we've cut off different avenues in our marriage, and I would not be opposed if you kissed another man, for example. So the door gets opened a little bit, and the main character and narrator goes through that door. So it's very much so. If you loved All Fours, I think you'll love this book. If All Fours was too much for you, just too much in every possible way, you might love this book because it's in the same ballpark. There are themes that they share, but there's something about this book that is just an absolute delight. It's filled with literature, references to literature. This character forms a relationship that's long distance for as long as they can keep it long distance, and a lot of it is they're writing about literature and other writers, and so it's exciting as a reader to have that. But the word that I kept coming back to as I read it is this is just an absolute delight of a read. So I could not recommend it more highly. Emma Straub says Ada Calhoun writes with absolute clarity about the giddiest and most destabilizing feeling, the crush. This novel made me feel dizzy, and I loved every second. Calhoun can seduce me any day of the week. And I'll give you like this is how the first chapter ends. What Paul was proposing wasn't exactly an open marriage or even PG-13, but he was opening that door a crack while insisting the adventure would be good for me and good for us. He surely knew that only this formulation of such an exploration would have appealed to me. I could still be quote unquote good, even while being quote unquote bad. I said I'd consider it. Then I actually did, and that is when the trouble started. So, check out Crush, Ada Calhoun. It's going to be one of the most talked about books of the summer, spring and summer for sure.
Wow.
It's so good.
Awesome.
And she's an absolute, like I said, she's a delight. I met her at Kaliba, fell in love with her. She's great.
Yeah, she's so cool. Her book about her father and Frank O'Hara, we got to
Right.
poster
Also a
for that
poet.
one.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a writer. I mean, she has such a range, so that looks very good. It's
Yeah.
not a book I would have picked up, but I'm definitely interested now.
Well, and it's not like this. I can only say this because it was in the New York Times, but like she was the name floated, and I'm pretty sure was one of the names behind the Britney Spears memoir. Uh,
Oh,
that's what they said.
Oh.
That's what the New York Times said. I
oh
cannot confirm
my.
or deny, but she's great.
Wow. Cool. Thank you. All right, Patricia, and also this is Luna in the background for you.
Indeed. I was hoping to see Luna. I have
She's
animal books for Luna today.
Yay!
It was very fun to see everybody at Winter Institute, the book selling event. And in fact, this book that I'm presenting, our author is there at the moment. Jaap de Rood is from the Netherlands. He is a runs a lab, however, at Emory on animal behavior and how animals heal themselves. We're just crazy about this book, Doctors by Nature: How Ants, Apes, and Other Animals Heal Themselves, and are having a number of booksellers meeting with Jaap. Uh, so wish I was there, but we have his book. It's a book on zoopharmacognosy, you, the manner in which animals reach out to find phytochemicals in plants, or maybe some minerals in that dirt they're imbibing, or uh, needing some roughage for the gut, various ways in which they medicate themselves. Uh, the, there are all kinds of unexpected examples. There is a plant called the Munyongo ntombo, which it was observed that a young elephant with an upset stomach would pull out this plant, chew it up. They have a pharyngeal sort of pouch, mix it with water and swallow the water. Later, we have derived that extracts from this plant are good for malaria, for respiratory diseases, for fever. And in fact, that's a theme throughout the book that we have learned extraordinarily in our own pharmacology from observing animals, and the also the incredible centrality of plant chemicals, good to remember as we uh, do not care sufficiently for all of the creatures and plants around us. There are quite a number of incidents, in fact, when you might seek out bark, and we know that here in this country and in other countries, often with salicylic acid, which would be aspirin. Uh, there's a legendary horny goatweed observed having quite an effect on goats. And this has also been extracted and observed for treatment of impotence. There are anti-parasitic qualities here. It's pretty amazing to hear about birds picking up cigarette butts and using the nicotine to decontaminate their nests. Here, there's quite a lot on terrifying parasitic wasps, caterpillars, and other frightening insect behavior. But of course, also dogs are dogs. We see them eating grass. So dogs are dogs, cats are cats. This is a good book also of observations for our own domestic animals and how we might uh, provide for them a more amenable environment. It's lightly written. It's a good book for readers of Frans de Waal or Cy Montgomery, who gives it a fabulous rave, basically with the word wow. Ed Yong, and surprises us on every page with unexpected examples.
good one. Yeah, what I enjoyed about this book too was like many nature and science writing books, it explores the process of scientific discovery and also how we have to grapple with anthropomorphizing animals, especially when looking at studies like this. It's a good one. I really enjoyed this book, and
What's interesting?
I'm jealous that I can't meet the author at Winter Institute, but
Well,
I'm glad you
we'll have to
talked
meet
about
him
that
at
today.
home. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. All
welcome.
right, back to you, Gabe. Oh, you're on mute.
Try to be polite and mute myself.
Kind of want to do bad lip reading with Gabe on mute.
You know what? It's not a bad idea. Lip reading classes with Gabe, who always forgets to unmute.
Oh, yeah.
So, Daughter of Daring.
Uh-huh.
I am a big fan of Mallory O'Meara. She is a local Los Angeles writer um, who has been doing this for a long time. And she, these small books and they're not as small as you think. They kind of open up these big worlds. Um, so her first book was The Lady from the Black Lagoon. I got some images here. Was a lady from the Black Lagoon, which is a look at Millicent Patrick, who was an early woman film pioneer who is all but forgotten. She created The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, this little biography, I thought I'll sell a few in my territory because I used to cover Los Angeles, and review attention was big. It was what would be the Southern California independent booksellers book uh, award winner for biography of the year. It was published in 2019, and it got all kinds of review attention, and continues to backlist pretty nicely. And then a couple years ago, 3 years ago, she did Girly Drinks, um, a book that a lot of people thought, wow, that's a weird follow-up to The Lady from the Black Lagoon. Um, was People didn't seem to get excited about it. It's like, what's the big deal? Well, this book is about women in history and their involvement in creating liquor and alcoholic drinking and wines and etc. Um, so all through time, and it won a James Beard Award. And another book that continues to backlist very nicely. So, don't take. You may not have heard of Mallory O'Meara before. Don't take it for granted. Um, Good fun reads, and in this book, she is really focusing on a again an early film pioneer, and it is a character who was kind of like the original stunt woman. She did so much um, um pioneering, groundbreaking work that and somebody who like we've never heard of. So Helen Gibson was a uh, she apparently she had like the longest running serial of all time. That the series that she had running, and had quite a long reach, quite a wide reach to her projects and what she did. And then, I watch a lot of old movies and things. I've never heard of her, and I am glad that I got this book so I can check it out. And then this book leads you into other things. If you like Hollywood books, etc., if you like good biography, Mallory did a really good job with this book, as she did with The Lady from the Black Lagoon. So exciting stuff, I think. If you're at all into movies, yeah, I think it's great. I think we're looking at all this DEI nonsense going on right now. It's not, these are people who you know, originators of the forums. These are people who created the forum, and there's women there. There's a lot of different kind of people out there. It's not just white men who created the movie business. And that Mallory has given us some insights into some cool stuff. So I'm a big fan about everything that she does because she's very thoughtful.
Awesome. I think it's a mark of a really good writer that someone can write on such wildly different subjects and they all come out so
But kind of,
provocative and
but they all really kind of tie in. It's all women. It's all about women. It's all about women who have existed and who we don't know about. Who we don't know
awesome.
about. So I think that's keep her close to your hearts. She is standing up.
Thank you. Back to Tom.
All right. I'm going to bring us back to cats.
Yeah.
The blanket cats.
Somebody's paying attention.
Out tomorrow.
That's cute.
So this is, I think you might be able to tell this style. This is a novel or a collection of stories in translation from the Japanese, translated by the same translator as our the Kamigawa Food Detectives, which has been really tremendously popular. As have all of these books that it is a movement. So in this you have the blanket cat. So it's a shop, a pet shop where people come. There's always in all of these things, whether it's a restaurant or a pet shop, people come to the pet shop or the restaurant, in this case the pet shop. They need something. There is something that they are grappling with in their life. So there's a couple struggling with infertility. There's a middle-aged woman on the run from the police. Two different families seeking, joy, but not sure how to find it. So they leave with a blanket cat in each of the stories, and can only have them for 3 days. I guess that's the amount of time it takes to change lives. But there are rules. They must three rules. They must be returned after 3 days. They must eat only the food supplied by the owner, and they must travel to their new homes with a distinctive blanket. And I believe you're not allowed to wash the blanket while you have the cat. So there you have it. And of course, there are surprises within each story. There's the resolution that the person came in looking for may not be the right resolution after all. And so it's charming. I guess I saw somewhere, I'm not sure I've ever called it healing Japanese fiction, but healing Japanese fiction, like the Traveling Cat Chronicles, which we published a few years ago. There's a great quote on the cover from the author, Remarkably Bright Creatures. Utterly charming. I would read 100 of these stories, and maybe there'll be more. This is only 7, but maybe will be many more to come. It's been a bestseller in Japan and all over the world. The Blanket Cats. You know who you are if you like this sort of thing. You know you want this book.
For sure. Luna left. I think she thought it was a little too on the nose
A
for
little
her.
too much. Yes, I agree.
She's like, yeah, I'm a cat sitting on a blanket. That doesn't mean I want your book.
Exactly. And she's not wrong.
For rent.
Yeah,
That
I'm
exactly.
sounds
not going
awesome.
home with anybody else.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Thank you. Ever since I read the Traveling Cat Chronicles, it seems like there's been this deluge, and honestly, I'm for it. It's not getting old. It's been years, and just bring them on.
I know yeah,
Healing
it's
fiction.
amazing.
More cats. Patricia, back to you.
Comfort cats. I also have another animal book, and we may or may not be comforted by this one. We have a wonderful series called Lives of the Natural World, which we co-distribute with Unipress. They're filled with color, they're filled with incredible facts. And so far, I've been right about the greatest hits, which so far have been Lives of Fungi and Lives of Octopus. I am extremely proud of landlocked octopuses, which I have sold in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. But my money is on bats this season. This is the new one. I just got a copy, Lives of Bats. They are incredibly interesting, and I did not realize that they are the second largest order of mammals, that there are 1,400 species, and yet, they're so surreptitious, so unknown that we really don't often see them. They can be quite charismatic, as we can see here, although, of course, some of them are quite different and astonishing. And the book is full of unexpected facts. Here we're talking about wing shapes and flight. And as we look closely, we can almost imagine how we designed early flight. And there's quite a lot on also on bat thermodynamics. The way that they handle their temperature, the size versus the size of the wings. And I have to say, astonished to know that bats can live as long as 30 years. I just would not have thought that. Here
Wow.
we have both the friendly fruit bat and the more terrifying carnivore.
Ah,
We want to be that frog. We are kind of astonished throughout. I like this one. It's called the Egyptian Rusette. I'm on a pink mode at the moment, and this book is trimmed in pink and has some other rosy and beautiful creatures throughout. Should you find some little foundling bats and need to care for them, this reminds me of the images I've seen of taking care too of kangaroos that have lost the pouch. So here are the little bats requiring a little assistance. There's a vast array. They come in extraordinarily different sizes, and of course, great flocks and nocturnal habits. We look at echolocation, mating, diet, diseases. It really is surprisingly intense to look at and a beautiful book.
Awesome. I heard them once referred to as sky puppies, and I can't forget it now. So every time I see it back, sky puppies.
I've not
Oh,
thought of them. I
Gabe
think of them
Gabe is not into it.
Not into
more like
bat.
foxes. They have a
I'm into
fox-like
Yeah.
I'm into
quality.
them in book form, but not anywhere else. I love looking at them on pages, but
Oh, I have liked seeing them when, like at a campground where they're going around, maybe a light
um,
bulb or something. Always astonished that they're there and that I was less aware. And also when there's great flights of them, like at Carlsbad or somewhere, and that's kind of extraordinary.
30 years old. Wow. I
I
didn't
had
know
not
that.
thought that. Somehow I
Uh-uh.
was thinking,
Like a
brevity.
mouse lifespan.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. Terry, the book buyer over at UCSD bookstore, that is a book for Terry. She is a big bat person.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I'm glad
She's
to know
so
that.
she's so
Terry
goth.
must have a
Yeah.
bat book. We will make
Yes.
sure that happens.
Oh, good. All right, lightning round. Gabe.
I don't have really a lightning round pick. All my books today are very thoughtfully curated. So,
what a surprise, Gabe.
Slow books.
you know what, Mr. Tom? No, I'm gonna lightning round this puppy right here. I'm gonna try to lightning round it. I could have been done by now, right? Magic in the Air by Mike Silsky. I like Mike Silsky because he wrote a book, The Rise of Kobe Bryant, that Deborah brought home a couple years back. And it's like the Kobe Bryant origin story. I really was into it from like, being a little kid in Europe, his high school years, his father's connections to LaSalle, which is in Philly, his hometown, and just the way he was created was really, really well done, I thought. I do read basketball books. I mean, these are two things that are sitting around on my shelf right now. This is an older book, and this is something Deborah brought home the other day. She figures I'm gonna like something. Anyways, I read a lot of basketball books. And there's been some good ones. Hachette's been doing some really good ones. This is St. Martin's. Um, but it's so good because my initial reaction was like, yeah, the slam dunk is cool if you're watching it, and I wasn't sure exactly what he was doing with the books, so my initial reaction was less than really enthusiastic. But when I cracked it open, I opened it up right up to the first page I read was about the goat. So the goat is Earl Manigault, who was a like the best, according to Kareem, a number of players back in the 60s, the best playground athlete for the best basketball player of his size ever, possibly. Couldn't make a go of it in college. He was had a hard time getting through high school. Couldn't do college, and obviously never made the pros. But he's a legendary figure. There was a documentary made, so I was like, "Ooh!" And he gets everything right. And so what he does is he just had these various characters in time of from like one of the initials is like the 1936 Olympics, the Jesse Owens Olympics in Berlin. Joe Fortenberry, a farm kid from the Midwest, playing basketball at those Olympics. So there's these various characters through time that he introduces, some that you've heard of, that Michael Jordan, of course, and Dominique Wilkins and people like that, but historically people I'd never heard of, and so you get some great stories, very Americana because there's a lot of the Midwestern kid going to war. Um, so there's a lot to like in this book. Definitely for the basketball fan of basketball books. Sealski writes a pretty live narrative. He just keeps you going, and I think he picked some really good subjects, and the dunk is expressed through these things. So I think he did a really good job.
I love the idea of this book. It's fantastic.
And you saw the quote from Ann Patchett.
I have two things to say. One, Ann Patchett loves basketball. How cool. I didn't know that. And then, Gabe, you held up the other basketball books. Was there a Hoosiers book there that I
It's
saw?
the real Hoosiers, Crispus Attucks High School, Oscar Robertson and the Hidden History of Hoops. So it's
Oh, nice.
probably a black high school back in the day, you know.
What a very specific way to approach a sports history. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you sort of get a lot. Like I said, I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to read about Julius Irving, and are you going to highlight all the dunks or? But it's again a really good history. Like I thought what he did with the Kobe book was I got a lot of way background. I mean I learned about more about Earl to Pearl Monroe, who was a Philly basketball player in Sealski's book. So there's a lot of background stuff that you just sort of don't even I took for granted. I'm just thinking about it now, but there was a lot of history that he played on that brought Kobe forward. Anyways, he does a good job. I'll read his next book.
Excellent. All right, Tom.
All right. Well, last year we published the mega bestseller, Liz Moore's God of the Woods, still in hardcover, will remain in hardcover for the foreseeable future. Great read. But before that, we published her Long Bright River, which was her breakthrough book. And so Long Bright River in paperback is coming, and I'm telling you because it's coming as a streaming series in 2 weeks. So March 13th, it airs on Peacock. And if you haven't read the original book, the book is fantastic. The Long Bright River is terrific. It's very much Philly. What Dennis Lehane does for Boston, Richard Price does for New York and Manhattan. That's what she's doing in this book for Philadelphia. So it's a neighborhood in Philadelphia that's the opioid crisis is everywhere. It's about two sisters. One is a cop. The main character, Casey, or no, Casey's the sister. So the main character is Mickey, who's the cop. Her sister is Casey, who is kind of lost to addiction and on the streets. And the two were inseparable when they were children, and now they barely see each other. But um, Mickey never forgets and never it is always on the lookout for her sister on the streets. Then Casey disappears, and at the same time, there are murders of young women in that neighborhood. And so it's both a page-turning, thriller. It's also a family story. It's about two sisters who no matter how far apart they have become, they're still close. It's going to be a great series, I think. It stars Amanda Seyfried, however you say her name, Seyfried, as the main character. Very from the trailer, very gritty Philly streets. But if you haven't read it, you have 2 weeks to read the novel Long Bright River.
Adrian, our longtime book buyer before
Yeah,
Mallory, was a huge fan of this book, and she
yeah,
reads extensively in that genre. So,
Yeah.
that's
mm,
true. Yeah,
thanks for recommending this one.
she's a very good judge of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
And that was a case of a writer who had published, I think, three other novels, but quietly, and then burst onto the scene with Long Bright River.
And it's not a TV tie-in.
No, no,
It's the
no,
regular.
no,
Okay, good.
regular. Just has the God of the
Mhm.
Woods burst right there.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Excellent. Okay, Patricia, bring us home.
I was going to look at some books in a little series that we do at Princeton called Ancient Wisdom for Modern Readers.
Ah, good.
They're kind of uncondescendingly wonderful, small books, jacketed hardbacks with cool facing pages in ancient languages, in this case, Greek and Latin. And sticking with our theme, How to Care About Animals, has many extracts gathered by uh, M.D. Usher, a classicist who also has an organic farm in New Hampshire. So I rather like him, and he has a nice eye. I picked out a couple of moments that might surprise us from the ancient world. This one is called My Octopus Teacher, in which we are translating from the Greek some observation of the octopod adopting an attitude and complex art on the rock. Becoming different hues, not static, and very smart. We have another little section on this one's for you on the raven, on bird intelligence, on teaching magpies and seeing that they have a capacity for speech, noting that Agrippina, Claudius Caesar's wife, had a thrush that imitated human conversation, and explaining how to train the bird by keeping its full attention undistracted and feeding it little bits of food and talking to it. And even a section on animal intelligence. This so surprises me. And in fact, this also talks about animals as self-taught, not only in medicine, but in self-foddering, in hunting and protection, and in music. So here we have the anticipation of Jaap de Rood's very book. Kind of wonderful. I thought I'd show you another one of these little books. This is another recent one. It's called How to Eat. Really a nice format. This one's quite chunky and I think would fit well in the eating literature section. I just picked out a single sentence. There is an enormous difference from cheese to cheese. I felt that you
Yeah, there is.
might appreciate a little cuisinary attention from the ancient world. So a fun series.
That's awesome.
Love that series so much. They just,
We saw
I
the
don't
we
know.
saw a lot of those.
They're so good.
They just keep coming. We're
They're
starting with
just,
other languages. We've had Greek and Latin all along. There's about 35 volumes, but now we have one with the Sanskrit, Tibetan, and Chinese on the idea of no self. And next season we'll have one on Aztec wisdom.
oh, cool.
Oh, that's
So that'll
okay.
be pretty astounding. And again, with the language. So it'll be
Those
great.
really
The
good look.
on
Those really good
on the
looked at.
facing pages, right?
Hmm?
On the
Usually
facing
facing
pages,
pages, yeah.
they have the original language and
Mhm.
in translated
And there's
English.
something nice about that. Even if you're not reading the Greek, it's fun to look at it or kind of sound out the Latin or whatever's happening. So they're quite ambitious and they're moving out into some other ancient wisdom traditions ahead.
Hmm. Yeah, the perfect mix of they're academic, but they're also just beautifully packaged. The size is very, it feels very approachable and digestible. Um,
Yeah.
and so well curated. And the people who they choose to do the curation are all experts and good stuff. I just love
There's
that
something
series.
intoxicating about getting back to the ancient world. Gary Hart sent me an arc of the new translation ahead of Homer. Do you know that's coming?
Mm.
Daniel Mendelssohn's translation, which I've been all excited about, and it was kind of him to send. And I seem to keep circling back to that period and reading again. I have a British book around here. Here it is that I just got, Enchanted Islands. I don't know if this is out here, which is a British woman in the wake of Homer.
Oh, bonus book.
Beautifully traveled off to
Oh,
Sicily.
thank you all so much for being here. Um, I shouldn't have worried, I suppose, but Luna helped me lure you all back here. Thanks
Ah, well,
everyone for
that's
attending. Oh, Darcy mentioned she's getting ready to attend our event with Nancy Goldstone, whose book, uh, The Rebel Empresses, about Elizabeth of Austria and Eugenie of France, power and glamour in the struggle for Europe.
Ooh.
So that should be a good one. I'm glad you're coming, Darcy. And we have some good virtual events too. I'll include them in our news, the e-blast I send to y'all about tea time books. Nathaniel Ian Miller, the author of the Memoirs of Stockholm Sven, he has a new book called Red Dog Farm that Nancy just finished reading, Nancy Warwick, and she loved it. So that should be a really good one as well. We're so grateful that you all keep joining these events with us in the Zoom. We know it's not the same as being in person, but I think really great stuff happens in these little boxes. So thank you all, reps and our attendees, and see you next week for our regularly scheduled programming.
Bye.
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 good to see you.